Hey, good morning. Happy Monday. It's Ashley Corville with the Complete Mortgage Team, and I have Mr. John Ray here. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
How are you today?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I love it. Monday is my favorite day of the week.
Yeah, why?
Because it feels like a fresh start and a reset. And after being on the farm all weekend and normally on the weekends I don't leave, and so this is the first time I've seen people since Friday.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree. I posted that this morning. Monday's a new beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to talk about the differences between being pre-qualified and pre-approved.
Okay.
And when you, at the last minute, I kind of roll around here, decided, okay, that I want to do this, and you wanted to know the difference too.
Yep.
And you've been doing this a little while.
A minute.
A
couple of days.
And you've done a lot of transactions, both buy sides and listings, and you weren't really too sure about all the differences.
I knew that there was a difference. I just always mixed the two up.
Yeah, and I think that that's really common, that people don't know the differences, and we use them sort of interchangeably sometimes, especially online, so they don't know the difference. But in this market, it being extremely competitive, we really want to educate our borrowers on the differences and what they should be doing.
So as a listing agent on the listing side of things, even though I get the differences confused, I read the check boxes, right?
Yeah.
Because there's different check boxes, almost the same letter. But you, as the lender, you check a different thing, right?
Correct.
Tell us what the difference is.
So pre-qualified is your bare bones approval. We are a pretty instant gratification society now, unfortunately. It's got some downsides to that. And so you can go online, you can put your information in an app, I have one. And most lenders will almost automatically, if you check some basic boxes, will issue a pre-qualification. So what you put into the application is what it's reading, and that's really it.
So I did a pre-approval a while back because we were thinking about buying a house, and I made up my salary because I don't actually know what I'd take home from my W-2, right?
Yeah.
So that's not a good thing, is it?
No. So we have that a lot of times, borrowers say, I made $5,000 last month, but over the average of 2 years, they only made $3,700 a month, depending on how the calculation works. And so $3,700 and $5,000 is a difference. And so what we can approve you on is different. And so if you make it up, or you don't know, or you just assume that's what your income looks like, it's going to be very different once the lender starts gathering documentation and really putting a specialized set of eyes on it to figure out what you actually make, and then that can impact.
Because if you say you made $5,000, you actually averaged out $3,700, I would think that could potentially change your approval, right?
Absolutely. So pre-qualified is the bare bones, and pre-approved is getting all of your documents into the lender and having them reviewed by a professional, having us look through all the ins and outs and checking all those boxes, which is why you said the pre-approval, the boxes are checked different. Because the first one is just what maybe a computer might think. Somebody may put their eyes on it, but it's very unlikely. And a pre-approval is actually doing an analysis over the documents to say, do you meet the requirements of all of the things? There's probably a few dozen things that we look at to give a pre-approval. So why is that important to you as a listing agent to know the difference when you're presenting these offers to the sellers?
So I don't know if y'all have heard, but we're in a pretty hot market where houses are being put under contract. Notice I said put under contract and not sold. They're being put under contract in hours, and later on down the road, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, they're falling apart because we're taking the highest offers, because we're not reading all the things, because we're taking the pre-qualified buyer who made the highest offer instead of the pre-approved buyer. And maybe the pre-qualified buyer in that multiple offer situation wasn't the best buyer. So as a seller, it's really good if you choose a team of people, a listing agent, the lender on the other side of the deal is a good lender. There's a lot that goes into making sure that this under contract before listed makes it all the way to the closing table in 30 to 45 days.
Yeah, I think it's great to speak about. I mean, obviously I speak to buyers because that's what I do is the mortgage loan for a buyer. But I think it's also important to educate our sellers in this market. And so I think you hit it like right nail on the head. Like, don't just accept the highest offer because anybody can issue a pre-qualification. Anybody can frankly issue a pre-approval. It's who goes to closing that matters.
And so that's why you align with a professional who has experience in this market, right?
Yeah.
Because anybody can put a house under contract. For sale by owners are doing that, but are they getting to the closing table?
Right. And the like overturn of it went under contract and then it came back out and then it goes back under contract does a couple of things to a seller. If it's going in and out of the market, what does that mean for
Why is it going in
someone?
and out of the market? That's going to throw a red flag to another buyer. Why did this contract fall out, right? And the typical response, if I'm being honest, is, oh, buyer's financing, right?
Right.
But what does that mean? Does it mean that the buyer's financing fell apart? Does that mean that I could say a house could miss appraisal and
Yeah,
I could say buyer's financing?
right. And it creates doubt for the next buyer to come along. And so they may not offer the same amount. And sellers are kind of attached to that first dollar amount. And then it makes everybody's job a little bit harder. And this is a stressful market. And so like the more stress that's out there, and the longer these things take to align yourself with professionals, the harder it is. And it shouldn't be that hard in this market.
Sure, especially if a house goes under contract in 4 hours and then 30 days later falls apart right before, now you got 30 days on market.
So I think it's important to know that the market, we've talked about that a lot in the last couple of months. I feel like every week we come on and it's like, the market is still hot. Oh, it's hotter because it has grown. The temperature of the market has grown significantly over the last year. I didn't think we'd probably be in this type of market at this point. I thought things would settle out. We have no idea when that's going to be.
You don't have a crystal ball?
I don't have a crystal ball. I always say that when people ask about rates, I'm like, if I had a crystal ball, I would be picking lotto numbers and living on the beach.
That's fair.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't. So we don't know what this market's going to be. So in the meantime, we have to just educate our people and give them the best advice that we can. So it's to align yourself with true local professionals and get your documents into your lender to make sure that you are setting yourself up for the right loan, the right purchase price, and doing all the things. I looked at a rescue loan for a deal over the weekend. A local lender had this buyer and gave her 3 or 4 different approval amounts, and it just didn't like line up. So she is under contract on a house, and they were like getting some weird feelings. So the buyer's agent brought it to me and said, do you mind just chatting with her and looking at it? And I looked at it and I'm like, she's in the total wrong purchase price. And so I don't know what she gave to the other lender, but I know that like we looked at it over the weekend and she's probably $30,000 out of budget.
Oh, wow.
And she's never gonna love a house $30,000 less.
And so it changed her perception, right? And I would think that this seller doesn't want to sell $30,000 left just to keep this buyer.
Right. And they don't have to because there is another buyer that is well suited for this. And so it's an unfortunate situation when you align yourself with people that don't take the time to do it. So as buyers, if you're thinking about buying a home, please do a pre-approval. Please get all your documents into the lender, work with them to make sure that you have a really solid chance of closing the loan. Save all of us a lot of grief, set yourself up for this to be the best experience that you can when buying your next house.
So the difference between pre-qualification and pre-approval is with a pre-approval, you're an A+ buyer.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking for. And if you are a challenging borrower because you're self-employed, your credit's a little bit different, or you need some help, then that's even more important to get those documents in so we can take you from, B+ buyer to an A+ buyer by doing the work upfront.
Sure.
I really appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I wish you well in this market.
Likewise.
John Ray is going to be doing some extra special things on his Facebook to talk about how this market is doing. So find him on Facebook and follow him. He's a great resource, an awesome professional. We appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Bye.